Hi, my name is Lelani and I'm one of the practitioners here at the London Clinic of Nutrition. Today, I wanted to speak to you about a topic I'm very passionate about, and it's the role nutrition can play in preventing depression and prolonged anxiety. Now, we know that any type of inflammation in the body can potentially influence inflammation in the brain and lead to a worsening mental state. And what we eat or don't eat can largely influence how much inflammation is present in the body. Inflammation is also driven by gut health, so how healthy the gut is, how healthy the microbiome is. And what that means is the balance between the good and the bad bacteria in the gut. And so hopefully we want to be eating in a way that's promoting more of the good bacteria in the gut. And through doing that, we help to reduce inflammation in the body and the brain. And we also have a positive influence on the gut-brain axis, which is a very important axis in the body. And the way I see it is the gut and the brain is really like one organ. So if there's inflammation happening in the gut, there will be inflammatory changes in the brain. And if there are any issues in the brain in terms of a low mood or a lot of anxiety, that also can have a negative impact on inflammation in the gut. And then finally, the immune system can also be a driver for a lot of inflammation in the body and in the brain. And so it's really important to have a healthy immune system in order to dampen inflammation in the body and the brain and have a positive mood. So what are the food changes that you can focus on day to day that can have a positive influence on your mental health? So for me, the most important change that you can make would be to focus on eating more whole foods and natural foods in your diet. And what that means is foods that are in its natural form as we find them in nature, and avoiding foods that are more ultra processed. Now, we live in a modern food environment and we are all exposed to more of these ultra processed foods that are very high in hydrogenated fats and trans fats, which are very inflammatory. They're higher in processed salts and also higher in refined high glycemic load carbohydrates. So these are refined flours and refined sugars that are in these ultra processed foods that can drive inflammation in the body. Then the second most important thing to focus on would be to eat more variety day to day. So we all make the mistake of becoming very repetitive with what we eat day to day. We tend to have the same breakfast, the same lunches on repeat, and we tend to rotate the same dinners week by week. So what we can do day to day is just focus on eating different foods. So switching up your breakfast day to day, switching up lunch, switching up dinner, maybe trying a few vegetables you haven't tried before, and really aim to include a lot of different colors, especially in plant foods, so fruit, vegetables, nuts and seeds. We know that a more Mediterranean style diet is very protective in preventing us from developing depression long term. The third most important thing to focus on would be to include more omega-3 fatty acids in your diet every week. So they contain EPA and DHA, which is very important to the brain. The brain is largely made of fats, so it's no surprise that healthy fats can have a very positive influence on brain health and how we feel. Omega-3 fatty acids are especially important because the body can't produce it. So unless we are eating omega-3 fatty acids in our diet regularly, we're not going to be having enough of these omega-3 fatty acids to have a positive influence on our mental health. So foods that are high in omega-3 include oily fish, wild fish from the ocean, so salmon, herring, mackerel and sardines, and also some nuts and seeds. So whole nuts are very high in omega-3, and also chia seeds and flax seeds. Then the fourth most important food group to include regularly in your diet would be probiotic rich foods and fermented foods that are very high in good bacteria. So these include natural yogurt, kefir, kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut, olives, aged cheese, and these foods all contain bacteria that can have a positive influence on our gut health and a positive influence on our brain health and our mood. So a study done found that those that consumed probiotic foods daily were less at risk of developing depression long term. And they also produced less cortisol over 24 hours. So cortisol is a hormone that the body makes in response to stress. So the benefit of using probiotic foods every day is that it actually improves the response that we have to day-to-day stress, which is quite wonderful. And then finally, an important food nutrient to focus on would be to include more B vitamins in your diet. So B vitamins are very important for brain health. They have a positive influence on our neurotransmitters, so especially neurotransmitters such as serotonin, which makes us feel happy, and dopamine, which makes us feel motivated, and GABA, which makes us feel calm. So vitamin B12 specifically, vitamin B9, folate, and vitamin B6 can be very important to positively influence neurotransmitter production, but they also keep our neurons healthy and help to dampen any inflammatory changes that can be happening in the brain. So those are my most important foods to focus on day to day that can help you when going through periods of prolonged stress to hopefully prevent you from developing issues with depression and anxiety long term. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for listening.